The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello, and help me welcome Kevin Avard. Senator, how are you doing on your campaign now?
We're doing really well. We're doing very well. We've got a lot of people very excited. A lot of people are turning out. We're working with the state reps that are running for candidate here in Nashua, and of course throughout Hollis, Brookline, Mason. Everybody's energized.
Well, I hope our voters realize they have to get out to vote. This is a very critical one for the city, for the state, and for the country.
It really is, and I think a lot of people know that. I think a lot of people want to show up and vote in person. They want to make sure that their vote is counted. There is a lot of early voting nationwide. I know that some people this weekend went to, I think it was 14 Court Street, where they were early registering. And my counterpart was actually there, and I think on city property, but whatever. But we were out there doing some sign waves in Hollis and knocking some doors this weekend. We have ads out there. A lot of people are excited about it. A lot of people are nervous.
So they know what you're fighting for, though. They know what you want, what you're worried about from the state. And
yeah, there's we had a couple of events. We had one at Boston Billiards, and Cliff Messling was there, and he's got a group of people out there trying to get the schools open in Nashua. So some of the surrounding towns, they're open, and a lot of parents are really concerned that their kids aren't back in school. And at the same time, they're hearing of proposals to increase the cost of education throughout the state, not by just millions, but by many millions of dollars. And people are scratching their heads saying, well, why? My kids aren't going into school.
Yeah, they're not getting anything this year.
We're not getting a bang for our buck. So what's going on? So that's a real concern with a lot of people that we're talking with. In addition to that, a lot of people are really concerned about their property taxes. And the left is always pushing for more taxes and income tax or sales tax or something.
Well, they always have a place to spend money, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, let's legalize pot and the whole 9 yards so we can get more money. But the bottom line is, when we were in office, I brought a list. I want to bring something up.
Okay. When
we were in office, we didn't really increase the budget. We actually cut back on some of our spending. We cut back on some of the taxes. We had a surplus. We built up the rainy day fund up to $115 million, something like that. So that's with lowering taxes.
Yeah, lowering taxes and getting more money in.
And getting more money. Isn't that funny how that works? And of course, we reduced some regulations. We lowered some of the costs for the workers' comp because that gets added into the economy and whether somebody's going to hire somebody or give them a raise or not. So when we were in office, we sent $36 million back for the local roads and bridges. That's always been a big concern. $1.4 million here for local schools. We sent back $2 million for water projects, $10 million for municipal bridges, $8 million for full-day kindergarten. And by the way, I voted for kindergarten. There's a little mailer out there that says I didn't vote for kindergarten. I did vote for kindergarten, and I made sure that it was local control. And here is the money that was sent for it. And then we sent $27 million back for the Public Schools Infrastructure Trust Fund. Now, the question is for the local people like the mayor, like Jan Schmidt, your local alderman, alderwoman, why didn't you reduce the property taxes? The Democrats are out there saying, we want to reduce your property taxes. No, they don't. We've sent money back, and they didn't lower the money back. It makes me a little angry, a little perturbed about it, because they're out there saying, well, we want to lower your property taxes. Well, you had every opportunity, and they didn't do it. So what they want to do is introduce a sales tax through the family leave bill that was proposed. Governor vetoed that. Some people say, well, it's only a 5% or 0.05%. Well, what it does is it sets up the infrastructure
Right.
for an income tax.
And that goes so easily. You can see all the states that are down below us, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, they just inched it up. And now it's up in 5-6% type of.
Right. And it's at the tipping point where,
Right.
people are fleeing California, they're fleeing New York, they're fleeing Connecticut is a mess.
Yeah.
And so where are they going? And so New Hampshire is really an opportune place for people to live if they want to reduce their taxes. People don't want their taxes raised. And this is not the time, especially when the COVID situation is out there. Carl, I saw a mailer out there saying it was my fault.
For what?
Well, the COVID situation is the way I voted.
Really?
We're responsible somehow for the COVID thing. I'm not even in office, which is kind of funny. But apparently all the senators or previous senators, or those who are running, were attacked with those types of ads. But I think, if you want to lower taxes, number one, you have to have this relationship between your local municipalities and the state. You have to lower it on the state level and send the money back to the towns, and then have the town officials send back that money. As a senator, as the governor, you can't just say, hey, here's your money back. It has to be done by your local representation, your local school board, your local aldermen or selectmen or city councilors. These are the people that are responsible for making sure that you get that money back. But it doesn't seem to translate that way. Every time the money is sent back, especially in these controlled areas by Democrats, well, we have so many things that we have to do, and so many projects. And what we're seeing is that the Democrats are very, very, very generous with your money. They're generous with your money, and it's some type of moral imperative that we spend it.
I agree. That's the way they operate. And right now, I'm a little bit worried. We see in the newspapers that a couple of the bigger projects that we have to build a new middle school because one of them's falling apart. But I don't know. I think they have to build an arts building, and that went up by another. Now it's $15 million, and then they're going to put a parking garage, which is another $8 million. And all that is adding up. And, they're probably counting on the state to give them some more money so they can spend it on some of these things. But those things should be self-paying. They should be able to have an income projected. I think you have to, if you're going to do anything here, it should be to increase the economic benefit of the city.
Well, I agree. And one of the things that people don't know is that I was actually part of the Audi restoration up in Concord years ago, and I'm all for the arts. I'm an artist. I love to perform. I like getting on there and singing, and we've done, whether it's Broadway plays or musicals or. But anyway, up in the Concord area, way back in maybe like 2000, 1999, we had many concerts up in the Concord area to raise funds. It was a community effort for the Audi and its restoration, and it was beautifully done. Hand Me a Brick, and we put on Broadway plays of Annie and Sound of Music, and the Capitol Arts Center the same way. There had to be a symbiotic relationship. It wasn't just like, hey, we're going to tax you. There was a community involvement. And so what they did is they just did all kinds of things all in the building itself. It wasn't complete. People made comfortable with what wherever they could sit. And we did what we had to do. And we bought the curtains, we bought this, we bought that through actually doing these plays. That's one way to go about doing it and supporting it. And then it becomes a community effort. Right. But if you start saying to, especially the people that they're not going to use it, hey, why we got the Keith Center, why bother? It's hard to bring those people along and then to force them by saying, hey, we're going to raise your property taxes as a result of that. It's not flying. But that is a concern with people. But I think it's getting squashed by the fact that, people are worried about having to pay for more school when their kids aren't going to school. Right. People are meeting with the governor. The governor's on board. He's put out his stats saying, why are local towns doing it? Why are the towns doing it and not Nashua? Why aren't our kids back in school? So that's an issue. And why is it going to cost so much more? I don't think we're getting all the information that needs to be gotten.
I don't think the superintendent's moving very well. He keeps changing the plan. And now it says, it's going to be virtual until at least the end of the year. Yeah. And then they don't know what they're going to do after that.
It's they call it the Biden mode. He's hiding in his basement. He's not willing to come out. It's time to step up. You're paid good money to run this program, and the people of Nashua deserve to know what's going on. What's your plan?
What's your option? It's you're not even trying to get input from the people. I mean, you got a community group that's ready to picket the superintendent.
Right. Well, that's just it. There are groups out there and they have a right to be upset.
Yeah.
The children need to be back in school. It's our obligation. It's their duty. And so elections have consequences. And this is what happens when you have one-party system in, say, like Nashua. It really is one party. It's not supposed to be, a party affiliated, but everybody in office in Nashua is a Democrat.
Well, I think we have a good lineup of candidates this year.
We really do.
And I think a lot of them have experience. Some of them are brand new, but they have ideas. Yep. And I think that people ought to listen into this show that we're going to have on around the election week. And all the candidates will have something to say, and you can just listen to them and hear all the things, the choices that they're talking about.
Yeah, and we have, just in Ward 1, you have 3 great candidates. You have Elizabeth, she's seasoned. Tom Lanzara, he's a firefighter and EMS, volunteered, in Hollis.
And everything, yeah.
And of course, we have Rosemary Russell. Very, very bright people that are running. Bill Ohm's running again. I understand Bill O'Brien's running.
Bill O'Brien, a past Speaker of the House.
So you have some new blood and you have some old blood and some people that know how to have a budget. And how to run the state efficiently, and I think that's what people are looking for.
I mean, we were there in 2011 when we had Bill as Speaker, and how he handled the $1 billion deficit in the budget.
And people don't give him credit for that, and they say, "Well, yeah, we had to make cutbacks." Well, when you don't have money, you got to make cutbacks.
Well, that's what he said. So this is the money we have coming in. And this is the way we saw how we're going to divide it up. If you want to divide it up, he said this to all the representatives, then you got to tell me where it's coming from.
Right. And this year is really an important election because we have redistricting. And we want to make sure that everybody has an equal say and that there's a level playing field throughout the state. So it's not a one-party system. If you have a one-party system, you don't have representative government.
Right.
You do need opposition. You need people out there. That's one thing I do like about the Republican Party. There's plenty of room for disagreement. There's plenty of room for argument. And at the end of the day, we do come together, but at least we're free to open up our mouths and speak. We're living in a time now where people are afraid to voice their opinion. You have people afraid to put signs on their lawns because they're afraid of being targeted.
Oh, yeah.
And we can't have this anymore. Let's remember that we're people first before parties, and I think that's something that's getting lost. There's a lot of intimidation. There's a lot of worry about safety out there right now. Parents want their kids safe at school. They want them at school. They're worried about, is that all out there west coming this way? Is that what's going on?
Well, I have people saying that hey, if they can do it for the parochial schools, how come we can't do it for the public schools?
Exactly.
I mean, there's no problems with them, and in the high school too.
Yeah, and another thing is there's opportunities for us to really shine in the state. I mean, I think we're the only state in the union. There might be one other, I'm not sure, but I believe we're the only one that did not receive that $45 million grant for the charter schools. Let me make something very clear. They're public charter schools. $45 million. My opponent voted that down. Why? Competition is good. If you want to lower your healthcare cost, you need competition. Let's compete over the borders, just like they do with Geico. You can't watch TV without watching a Geico or Progressive because they compete over
Right.
over state lines. Let's do that with the healthcare system.
Sure.
Let's make it transparent. But you need the competition. Why is it that one system seems to be dominating and pushing out the other opportunities? Nationwide, whether across all cultures, black, white, red, yellow, these opportunities are for kids that are taking them that can't afford to go to a school that meets their needs.
Right.
They're lifting them out of poverty, giving them an education that allows them to learn the way they're designed, or according to their ability, and they're flourishing, and they're just growing.
They get national honors too.
And national honors. The Science Academy. Every time I come on the show, I want to keep reminding people we have opportunities, and they're being squandered because of politics. And it's a shame that politics is overshadowing our children and the education system. It's time that it stops. It's not about us. We're here to serve. We're here to be your voice, not to tell you how to run your lives.
Well, you know, one of the things, the comparison I don't hear anything about is our junior colleges or community colleges, that they are, what is there, about 10 of them, I guess, so there's at least one in every county. And anyway, they compete in what they have to offer. Some specialize in nursing, some have exotic, like special welding type of techniques. So they're competing, and they're pulling in people. They're knowing, you know, not head to head and not necessarily offering the same programs, but they find out by offering something different.
Right.
They can succeed, and they can do a much better job. What is it? The one in the community college here in Nashua has offered no tuition type of courses right now during the virus thing. But that's what you need. I mean, it's being flexible and meeting a need that's out there in the community.
And there's plenty of opportunity, plenty of people out there willing to help out and foster this type of growth. But politics does seem to get into the way.
There we need to get Dave Wheeler in the executive council so that we have a majority to accept that and to do a lot of things that the governor has wanted to do, which I saw as advantages, changes that are for the good. And then we can be a better, I mean, we have a good state. We have good potential. Let's see it go together.
You know, and speaking of that, you know, people are fleeing from Massachusetts because everything down there is closing. The restaurants down there are closing. We were at Fulcino Vineyard the other day, and they're just doing bonkers. People are coming up from Mass, and they're just sitting there, and they're making reservations, and they've had a banner year. People are, because even though New Hampshire could be a little bit more open, it's open enough to have a draw, and we're a light. And people are enjoying coming to New Hampshire. We have a neighbor that go down to Connecticut, and he says it's closed shop. But people are coming up here, and they're amazed that they can go about you know, in living their lives. So you know, we got the COVID thing, but I saw a cartoon on Facebook, and it has to be true if it was on Facebook. It was a bunch of birds in a cage, and they're all together, and they're all talking to each other, and they see this bird outside the window, and the little bird say to each other, "Look at that idiot out there, endangering us all in this cage." Well, he's just flying out there and being free and enjoying the sun, and it's very pointed that you know it's time not to live in fear. If you're living in fear, what's going to change?
The state has good guidance, but it's letting it be adopted according to the situation, the local situation.
Yeah, the governor's got a really difficult balancing act, you know, and there are people on both sides that are really, you know, hey, let's go at it, you know, and he's got a very difficult task at hand, and I think he's handling it well. One thing I can say is that he's really engaged in talking with the people. He's out there meeting the people, and he's listening. And you know, I know his counterpart that's running against him, Senator Feltes. You know, Dan is very, very generous. He's a nice guy, and he's very generous with your money. He's very generous, and but I think the governor soon is being very responsible with regards to, his approach to this. I would like it more open. I'd like to see the churches open. I'd like to see the restaurants a little bit more open. Winter's coming. We got a difficult balance, but people are enjoying a better season of life during this particular time than they are down in Mass. So I think he's doing a good job, and I'm really grateful that he's out there, meeting with the people.
Well, you've been knocking on a lot of doors. What do you hear?
Well, it's the property taxes. We say, hey, we want to reduce your taxes. We want to reduce your taxes. How about my property taxes? People are at the point of breaking. We've met some people that were planning on moving because the property taxes. They want to see some other type of form of tax. But the problem is that just introducing a new tax does not lower your taxes.
Right.
We just showed you. We sent all this money back to the towns and your local officials like Jan Schmidt, representative, and alderman. And the reason I'm narrowing out her because she both is a state rep and
alderman,
an alderman.
Yeah.
So there's the great opportunity to bring both worlds together, and that's not happening. It's we need more money. We have more projects. It's not fair representation. And what you need is some new blood. You need some blood that says, hey, yeah, we can do something a little different. We can offer the public charter schools at a fraction of the cost of the regular schools. And by introducing that money into the system, maybe we can send some of that money back in rebates or in lowering the cost. But we're not seeing any attempt at this point. And so that is a big concern. Of course, the health care is a big concern. And again, that's one of the things that we did work on. We were responsible for making sure that, well, you go get a pill at the hospital or you go have an operation. Well, what's that going to cost me? Oh, why is it going to cost me this at this hospital versus this at this hospital? That's a way of lowering the cost. Yeah. Competition across lines. Years ago, when I used to sell for Mass Mutual, there was a product called the Mega Plan. It was a health product for small businesses that couldn't get the group insurance at that time. And, you could get for $1,000, you can get a deductible with like $300 to $500 way back when. Well, now with the Affordable Care Act, they can bump that up to $5,000. It's ridiculous. But the whole idea was competition. Right. And the less competition that's out there, the higher the cost. And so we want to bring in competition with schools. Let's lower, another thing with the other states are doing is they're cleaning our clock with these, when you go out to eat, there's that tax. What is that called? The
meals tax?
Rooms and meals tax. We're up to 9%. Yeah. Why? Yeah. Lower that down. Bring in again. Lower the taxes. It brings in more revenue. It spurs growth, and the growth spurs just more money in our coffers.
The money, the economy grows up. People feel better,
and we proved it.
Yeah,
we have proved it time and time again. I did a marathon years ago. It was not a running marathon. It was a walkathon in Boston. We were raising money for food, for food for the poor. And I was walking with some professor. I forgot who he was. He was just we were having a conversation, and I'm not an economist. I don't pretend to be. But he believed in the Keynesian. Yeah. And it just dawned on me because I had asked him, I said, well, what happens when you spend yourself into oblivion? Then what? Well, he really didn't have an answer. He says, well, hopefully it works by then. And it was something to that effect. And I was thinking, these people that want to just keep spending and spending, the only people that are really, really, really helping are the politicians. It's helping the politicians stay in power because what they're doing is they're using your money to buy votes for the very people that they're exploiting. And that's the Democratic Party. And now it's the Socialist Party.
They're turning it, that's why they want to turn it.
They're nothing like John Kennedy.
And no.
There's nothing like John Kennedy.
Well, I mean, Kennedy cut taxes. He saw the Well, he had a business attitude from his family. I mean, they had businesses and they knew what to do. You have to keep the political part out. You know, where you gain is when you improve industry and they buy and they support all the workers and the workers' taxes then pay.
Yep.
Yeah, they're happy. But you got to keep the politicians from taking their cut.
And it seems as though that's one of the things that they're doing. I don't know what's going on with this Biden thing and getting the kickbacks out in Russia and Ukraine. And
well, he's hiding right now.
well, that's the thing. In the media, we're having a difficult time trusting the media.
Well, look what they did. They cut off the people that wouldn't even talk about it. That wanted to talk about it.
Was it the New York Post?
Yeah,
they've been around for almost 200 years,
right.
160 years, something like
Fourth
that.
largest paper in the States.
If they can cut you off there,
yeah.
And I was listening to a program the other day, and they were talking about in 2014. Apparently, it was before the Supreme Court, where if you started criticizing the politicians, they could penalize you, and they could, and it only lost by 5-4.
Is that something? Well,
So-
there are other countries that are doing that.
Right.
That you can be put in prison if you go to see what they do in China.
Right.
You don't want to be China. You don't
No.
want to be North Korea. You don't want to be Venezuela.
This is the freest country, and we love this country. We love the state of New Hampshire. We love the opportunity that we can rub elbows. I rubbed elbows with Tom Cotton the other day, and this is the place where you can get up and close. Hillary Clinton came to the Capitol. I'm like that far. My only regret is that I didn't have her and Mr. Trump sign my guitar. My guitar would be so valuable. But it's that wonderful in the state of New Hampshire, and we want to keep it that way.
We're live free or die, and we believe that you have to have freedom, because then you're more productive.
I agree.
Okay.
Thanks for letting me come on the show. SenatorAvard.com if you want to get involved with the campaign, and please vote. We depend on it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and come back after the vote. We'll
I will.
talk about it.
Thanks, Carl.
Okay.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.